Yeah. Okay. I think we're in. I think we're doing this. Well, so a lot of people have a lot of questions. Is this really happening? Is this actually a coup attempt by Prigozhin? What do we know? What do we think is happening? Um, there's a lot of questions, and we're here to at least try to consolidate what we know, what the rumors are, try to bring the information into at least one place where we can, and we'll try to assess it as best we can. Now, bear in mind, this is a massive potential story, and the challenge is going to be for us to, in real time, try to tease out what's true and what's not. I guarantee it, there's a bunch of people at the Pentagon, a bunch of people at Langley who are doing the same thing that we're doing right now with slightly better information. They're probably a team, and they probably, speak Russian. But that's okay. They have their people, and you guys have me to figure out what's even real. And it's Friday afternoon. What else are we doing, right? Nothing. That's right. We're doing the same thing Prigozhin's doing, chilling, deciding if we want to Russia to continue to exist as a state. Okay. What I also think is worth pointing out while we're at it, first off, I do want to shout out, I talked about it this morning, but shout out the folks at combatvetnews.com. If you're not a member, you probably are like, what's he talking about? But I'm trying to drop twice weekly videos. I know one of the reasons I launched this was because I was being censored on so many other platforms. And so a lot of the people that came and supported me and support me as members are here for the uncensored content. And I did a breakdown of this trench video, and I actually thought that it was so blurry because it was a low quality video, but apparently it was like 80% censored. And I had so many people who actually unsubscribed. They're like, you said it would be uncensored content, and you showed me an incredibly censored video. So anyway, I found the real one, and it is crazy. And I did that breakdown today. But also going forward, there will certainly be, if there's even a grain of truth to this, there will certainly be some even wilder videos coming out of Russia. And YouTube is very, very strict about what I can show you and what I can talk about. But my own site, there are no such restrictions. So as we get videos of what's happening on the ground, those that I can put on YouTube, I will. Those that I have to put on Combat Vet News, I'll do that. But if you want to support what I do, this analysis, man, become a member. It'd be a huge help. As you see, war content's hard. I'm not like a regular YouTuber. There's very few sponsors that want to support this channel. I'll get a lot of demonetization. I've been booted off Patreon. But I think what I do is important. That's the bottom line. Just because it's war, because it's so high stakes, I think it's important to have good and neutral analysis to help us discern truth from fiction, truth from propaganda, really. And that's what I do. And I'm sorry advertisers don't like it, but that's okay because I have you guys that are out here supporting me on Combat Vet News and with your super chats, your memberships, and just being viewers, man. I appreciate all of it, really. I know that's like not the primary thing you guys are here for. But again, those of you that do, I appreciate you so much. And I try to make it worth your while. So yeah, I guess the other thing, if you want, I also have a newsletter, the Strategic Sit Rep. It's very simple. It's a national security newsletter with the most important stories of the week in a simple, clean, no clickbait, no hype, stories, the stories you need to know about the national security space. We give you a quick summary of them, few hundred words, and then we give you the context about what this all means, why it's significant into the national security world, why you need to know about it, right? So you could see it's not just Ukraine and Russia. It's the conflict over Taiwan with China, right? We talk about Blinken's meeting with Xi, what it all means for Sino-U.S. relations. So again, if you want that, it's free. Literally, it drops once a week. We're not going to spam your inbox. It's just thestrategicsitrep.com. So I appreciate you guys that are signed up there. Over 5,000 of you guys are on getting the strategic sit rep. So again, I really appreciate you. All right, let's okay. So we're gonna see what we can do. Yeah, no, people are asking like, is this live or is it pre-recorded? No, I'm just running through my standard stuff. It is absolutely live. So let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about what we know so far. So let's talk about this story from TASS. And TASS is a firmly Russian media entity. So it should almost be treated as a quasi propaganda arm for the Russian government. Very strongly aligned. So it says that this is updated as of looks like as of about 2 hours ago. Russia's official stance is that security services have started a mutiny probe after statements by Prigozhin. They're attributing it to something called the committee. Right? They said the statements that are being spread on behalf of Prigozhin are unfounded, the committee said in a statement. And they're attributing it to Russia's National Anti-Terrorism Committee, ordering him to stop unlawful actions. Said the FSB started a mutiny investigation in connection with his recent statement. So notable, this is Russia acknowledging he's engaged in some type of unlawful actions and has started a mutiny investigation with statements. Right, an investigation into his call for armed mutiny. They said Putin is aware of the situation and necessary measures are being taken. Russian Defense Ministry said reports circulating on social media that alleged Russian forces had delivered a strike on Wagner encampments in the rear are false. Okay, so this is interesting because it's remember with propaganda, sometimes acknowledging rumors can also end up empowering them. So look at what they have confirmed for us. They've confirmed that Prigozhin has engaged in a mutiny. He has called for a mutiny, and he's taken some kind of actions to that effect deemed unlawful, right? This is a lot for Russian security services to put this out. Remember, these are people that for a long time denied there was any counteroffensive, have denied that the counteroffensive has made any gains, have claimed to have been destroying Leopard tanks for the past year and a half. So to sit there and see them give truth to this is itself pretty wild. So, right. Interesting. Here you go. You can see again, 28 minutes ago, TASS is empowering a statement from the FSB saying Prigozhin's statements constitute a call for armed civil conflict on Russian territory. This is the FSB's own press office. Again, being reported by TASS, by the Russian state media arm. So again, there are calls for the beginning of an armed civil conflict. This is what's fascinating is this is not that strong a condemnation. Which Prigozhin himself would agree probably that these are what his statements constitute. They're saying it's a stab in the back of Russian servicemen fighting with, I can't say that on YouTube, fighting, I think they mean fighting against pro-Ukrainian forces. Right? We call on the PMC fighter not to commit irreparable mistakes, stop any actions against the Russian people, and not comply with the criminal and traitorous orders, and to take measures for his apprehension. And remember, they say all the information about missile strikes on Wagner are false and a provocation. So, interesting. Again, really granting, this is as of updated as of about 24 minutes ago. Fascinating to watch Taz kind of in real time try to damage control this. So we're definitely going to keep Taz up. And you can see they're doing another classic. They're both acknowledging it, but also burying it. If you ever looked at the first reporting of Chernobyl, you saw something similar where the Soviet Union acknowledged this bad thing was happening, but they buried it in other sort of routine news. Very interesting stuff. All right. Carl says, supposedly clashes have started. Wagner's headquarters in St. Petersburg are surrounded. Some VDV units are refusing to deploy. Interesting. Again, I that sounds believable. I imagine Wagner is probably not operating out of its headquarters. I could definitely see VDV units refusing to deploy at this point. If many of the stories, you have to remember the earlier Russian coup, rather the Russian coup that resulted in the Soviet Union booting out the Tsar. It also involved a military that was embroiled in a very high casualty conflict where there was a massive amount of resentment of the military leadership by the rank and file, which if many of the statements and information that we've gotten about the Russian military are correct, I think it's probably likely that there's also a lot of resentment among Russian troops who, especially if you're a pro-Russian nationalist, you're both more likely to join, but you're also going to have some level of loyalty or alignment to Prigozhin and his message. His message aligns with yours as a Russian nationalist. I would also say that, as you point out, it's also sort of credible to me that VDV units would refuse to deploy, since that's sort of the easiest way to support something like this, right? It doesn't take much for you to really dislike your command and have a favorable opinion of the other command, for you to sit there and just go, okay, you've created enough doubt for me to not be involved. Again, you listen to that statement by the FSB press and you're like, this is not that strong a condemnation. Not as strong as I would expect, if that makes sense. So, okay, let's talk a little bit more. Let's see, I'm just going to bring this over here. Okay, let's take a look at some of what we're seeing on Twitter. I think Twitter is actually a pretty good source for some of this stuff. As we've seen, sometimes it's bunk, right? It's a great source for propaganda, but sometimes even just seeing the spin is useful. So here's an account called Knoll Intel Reports, digital media platform covering conflict zone currently focused on Russia-Ukraine war. They're reporting that while there's a column that has not been visually confirmed, they acknowledge it's a grain of salt. But supposedly there's a Wagner column that's crossing towards Rostov-on-Don. Now, Rostov-on-Don, this is interesting to me because according to at least some photographs here, that there's some BTR-82s from the Russian National Guard that have been deployed in Rostov-on-Don. Now, bear in mind, this is an undated photo. I couldn't tell you if this is Rostov-on-Don or not. But, you know, again, this is some of the first credible evidence we've seen that there may actually be some sort of military conflict occurring. So we're going to, again, try to keep on, again, the subreddit. Also, Brian Barsinski, thanks. Savage Media, thanks, man. We're definitely going to need a whiskey or two after this. We're going to see how long this goes on. Well, okay, I can't sit there and be like, I'm not going to do this all night, but clearly this is a breaking story, and I'm here for it. Interestingly enough, you can see here the Russian National Guard allegedly, again, undated, but from a another social media type of platform, saying that there's National Guard deployed to Moscow now. again, deploying the National Guard is a pretty low grade step, but it's hard to appreciate the fact that one BTR and a checkpoint, these are not things that can resist a highly trained military. Wagner has taken out a lot of BTRs, and it's not clear that the Russian National Guard will be able to marshal the forces in time. Like, this will be something that Wagner could probably brush aside. Again, we're trying to see if there's... Somebody says the first time I ever rooted for the Bullets. Okay. Yeah, solid. Interesting takes from Redditors. You can always count on Redditors to have some serious cringe. Okay, so let's see. This is as of 13 hours ago. This is Prigozhin's statement. So let's do a little bit of analysis on this, then we'll talk about some more ongoing news. So, right, he looks to be talking about fighting. We're dropping in media ray here. So he's talking about the sort of lull in the conflict between 2014 and 2022 during when Russia was supporting Donbas separatists. Right, he's talking about the push and pull. February 24th, there was nothing extraordinary. Oh, what he's pointing out is prior to this invasion, there was no provocation, that this was a largely normalized conflict. This was a stable conflict with really just pitter-patter exchanges. Right. And he's calling out the Russian Ministry of Defense. I'm fascinated. This is one of the things that fascinates me, is that Prigozhin is so strongly aligned with booting out the Russian MOD, not Putin himself, right? He claims that they are trying to deceive the public and create this narrative that Ukraine was under some sort of aggression. Interesting, he's drinking tea. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. It's not an accident. Remember, guys, when you watch a Prigozhin video, there is no accident. Oh, interesting. Lethal Latin points out, I should check the roadmaps to Moscow. Red lines everywhere. Also, thanks, Cosplaying History Nerd. And Jacob Andrew. I appreciate it. We're gonna definitely be following a lot of these Twitter accounts. And Prigozhin's just like, yeah. Prigozhin has been on this speak truth to power kick for a while. I am sort of fascinated because, again, here he is. This is honestly, if you have been in the military, you know that this is what like a senior officer vibe kind of looks like. He's overweight. He loves coffee or tea, like loves it. But unlike a lot of staff officers who are political creatures, in this instance, he's actually speaking something that sounds like truth to power. That's usually what staff officers do at the tail end of their career. Okay, let's do. I want to do this analysis. Actually, I really like this idea from Lethal Latin. We're gonna check the drive times to and from around Rostov-on-Don and Moscow. Right, Brian Peterson points out, assuming Prigozhin has the cojones and the loyalty from his troops, if you want to overthrow Putin, well, I think he does. Actually, I think his ultimate goal is to be in charge of Russia. I think Putin is extremely. I think the intelligence assessment that was sort of confirmed by the leaks in by the United States, largely aligned with the notion that Putin was very, very ill. And remember, if he does have Parkinson's, my wife and I had this conversation. Parkinson's physical symptoms show up first. Cognitive symptoms show up later in the disease. So as time has gone on, Putin's cognition is going to become worse and worse. And that can manifest in a lot of different ways, but it implies that he may be highly manageable as a figurehead. He may at this point be a figurehead, and Shoigu may be the person who is functionally in charge of Russia. So again, something to think about when he talks about this. His goal, it's not unheard of for a coup to sit there and go, hey, my goal is not to, restore, to remove popular heads of government, but to remove one layer below them. I think there's a couple of countries where, like the military coup in Thailand, no one talked about removing the king from power. The king has remained consistently in charge of Thailand, but the balance of power between the king and the military in terms of actually governing the country is actually something that has been the subject of a number of coups and power grabs. So I think you're seeing something similar here, where Putin is popular enough, especially among ultra-nationalists, that there's not a grave danger in that he will be removed as the symbolic head of the country, but functionally the person who actually runs Russia, that's what's being contested right now. So, okay, looking at, we got, all right, let's do this map. I like this map analysis. I really like this idea. Let's just say, I'm just going to pull it up so you guys, you don't need to see. So if I was to go from Rostov-on-Don, right? Yeah, Rostov-on-Don, and I was to go there from Moscow. So let's talk about it. Okay, this is saying, let's switch it up. So this is the opposite direction. All right, I'm actually not seeing anything that looks too bad. Yeah, we're just looking at this here. It looks like they're saying road closed, but I can't tell. Again, I don't have a great sense if this is factually true or not. Looks like somebody, looks like, yeah, I'm not seeing huge delays. Again, is this the route they would take? It says it's a 12-hour drive. So I sort of doubt that. And again, I can't say, this doesn't look like exceptional for a city. I'm not seeing like huge delays here. This does not look like Moscow has turned into a parking lot. Yeah, so let's see. Let's drag a little bit. Let's just see if there's other. Okay, Lethal Latin's reporting M4 leading to Moscow closed. Okay, let's see if we can find M4. We're looking at M2. Oh yeah, there you go, M4. Interesting. Well, there's M4. So it does appear that someone has basically, this is where you would probably, if you wanted to try to lock down Moscow, this is probably where you'd do it. You'd probably control these couple of major routes along the south and control this ring road. That's probably how you would try to defend your approaches. Someone points out that, yeah, this is actually this is at 2 a.m. So actually these, but if you're talking about a 12-hour drive, if you're starting at 2 a.m., it's going to be 2 p.m. by the time you get there. I assume Google Maps can account for that likely traffic in the future. Let's take a look if you were to go around Rostov-on-Don, right? Like, let's say you were to start here at E58 and you were to try to get to, let's say the hippodrome of the city of Rostov-on-Don, right? That looks like somewhere in the downtown or the technical university. Okay, so let's close that out. Rostov-on-Don and directions from there to, let's say Patyaki. It says no delays. See if we were to continue to take M4, no delays. Interesting. So it sounds like Rostov-on-Don is actually fairly open still. Interesting. Except here, oh no, here's some road closures. Looks like someone has closed the roads, this road here, the M4. Again, yeah, you can see starting here and going here. No, well, they claim, no, they're like roads closed. Yeah, look at this. They've already closed part of already close part of M4 leading out of Rostov-on-Don. Cosplaying history nerd saying, thanks. Live map reporting military police have set up roadblocks in the south. Interesting. Let's take a look here. Okay. So we've got no intel. All right, I want to take a look at some other tweets, and then we'll take a look at the live maps, see what they're reporting. They're pretty good. FSB has put Moscow on alert. They say roadblocks have been set up along the Moscow, Vorozhov, Rostov road, and those on duty are ordered to open fire in case of a threat. They said the Moscow Department of the FSB was given an alarm. Confirmed by the Army. Alarm alerted the Moscow garrison. According to him, the Don Highway and Sober have set up roadblocks. Are ordered to open fire in case of a threat, which is a very vague term. If you've ever been subject to a rules of engagement or a row, you know that that's pretty vague. That's a pretty wide order in terms of lethal force authorization. Interesting. It sounds like the primary object is protecting the facilities of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. But here's the problem. What I think some of the biggest issues and biggest challenge facing Russia right now is the fact that almost every one of these agencies has Wagner loyalists. Like large numbers of the military, not large numbers, I imagine the FSB are subject to or are loyal to Wagner or support it in some way. And interesting, in Wagner's own channels, allegedly, they're saying that, from Dmitry from War Translated, actually, is saying all military who do not support the coup will be considered collaborators who side with Ukrainians. This should be interesting. So definitely, I like War Translated. They've been pretty reliable. Yeah, multiple people repeating the rumor that Wagner Group is operating some sort of large convoy. But Dmitry is also reporting that Russia's Channel 1 has been in an emergency feed mode for over 3 minutes as of a half hour ago, and just repeated nothing new, but insists Prigozhin will be prosecuted. Yeah, it sounds a lot like actually. There were other rumors that the Moscow major TV channels had been hacked, and were repeating, playing Prigozhin's statement on repeat. So this may be Russian efforts to pull some sort of emergency process to like get total control of the TV channels so they can't be hacked. Yeah, here we go. And this actually seems true. As you can see here, TV channels were hacked. Prigozhin audio reporting is playing. So you can see here, so there's a calendar, a picture of Prigozhin playing on the TV. Interesting stuff. All right, thank you, Jesus UCSB, or Jesus UCSB. Indeed, it's yeah, I don't know if I would say I'm rooting for Prigozhin in that sense. Also, thanks for Phony Franchise. I would say more it's like I suspect that Prigozhin, who doesn't seem to be a good person, is more likely to seize power, grant Putin his off-ramp, blame the Ministry of Defense for the war, and withdraw the troops. I actually think that's really possible. And Scuffnut will check out the M4 highway here in a minute. Yeah, I'm more curious about this. Is the first like evidence we've seen again of, and admittedly it's audio free, just a picture of a channel showing a picture of Prigozhin. So it's hard to say that this is how credible this is. Again, this is CNN repeating the comments from TASS, and here's the Guardian, so more of a neutral party. But it just seems like they're reporting what TASS talking about. Accused the Russian military of targeting his Prigozhin accused the Russian military of targeting his forces, vowed to destroy his rivals. In an extraordinary series of audio clips, Prigozhin claimed a Russian rocket attack had killed scores of his fighters, he vowed to take revenge and, quote, stop the evil brought by the military leadership of this country. Those who destroyed today, our guys, who destroyed tens of thousands of lives of Russian soldiers, will be punished. I'm asking no one resist. So, again, The Guardian is a legitimate Western news outlet. Despite me sometimes rolling. They're neutral in this conflict. I know. The Guardian has an agenda. Like, I'm not stupid. But in this instance, I don't think they have a dog in this fight. I don't think they have a reason to skew the coverage one way or another. And in that sense, I think they're credible. But when you say no one should resist, that's a bad sign. That's a sign that you are trying to run a coup, actually. Prigozhin also published a video in which he claims says is the aftermath in the southern Rostov region, aftermath of the missile strike. He claims to control 25,000 fighters and says, quote, together we're going to figure out why the chaos is happening in the country. Anyone who wants should join. We need to end this mess. Everyone who will try to resist, we will consider them a danger and destroy them immediately, including any checkpoints in our way and any aviation that we see above our heads. I'm asking everyone to remain calm, do not succumb to provocations, and remain in their houses. This is his statement. Ideally, along our way, do not go outside. After we finish what we started, we will return to the front line to protect our motherland. Okay, so maybe he's not going to withdraw from the war, but still pretty weird. The FSB, in turn, as we said from the TASS, say that this is, of course, he's calling for an armed civil conflict on the territory of the Russian Federation. Sodovikin has apparently asked the Wagner Group fighters to remain loyal to Putin. He said, I quote, I urge you to stop, who was actually previously understood to be close to Prigozhin. He said, quote, the enemy is just waiting for the political situation to worsen in our country. Interesting. Again, I think this is, more credible evidence that we're seeing that this is a real coup attempt. This isn't hype or nonsense. Teammaker 502, I'm not rooting for Wagner, but heckling Putin. Yeah, I don't think anybody, it's hard to root for Wagner because they're distinctly war criminals. But I'm rooting for Ukraine, and I'm rooting for the Russian Ministry of Defense and Russia's war effort to become less effective. That is what I want. I don't want anything bad to happen to Russian civilians. I don't want anything bad to happen to obviously Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian civilian population, right? But I don't know. I'm rooting for Russia to become a less effective military. Sorry, let's see. Lethal Latin, unconfirmed BR. I'm not sure what BR stands for. Leader Lukashenko flying to Russia. Lukashenko should stay home. I don't think Lukashenko has ever helped anyone do anything. Okay, let's take a look at the live map. Somebody was asking about it. Let's see if we can get the live map. They also have some pretty good updates. Let's pop this out there. Also, I just want to point out we've had a ton of new people show up. Before we take a look at the live map, I did want to say that YouTube, not necessarily the biggest fan of war analysis, but I believe what I'm doing is essential to understanding this conflict. If you're American or European, your tax dollars are contributing to it. So I believe this analysis is important, but I don't have a ton of sponsors. I don't have very good ad rates. I get demonetized videos regularly. And so I primarily monetize my content through combatvetnews.com. This has free news stories that I don't get to cover in my daily updates. It has all my YouTube videos on here for free. But if you want to support the channel, if you want to keep me independent and doing this, becoming a member at any tier is going to get you access to the members only content. And this is where I can cover and do the analysis of the ground level fighting, the viral combat videos, that YouTube just will not let me show you. Patreon won't let me show you. They're not overly graphic, but we're honest about what we're watching. And it's the analysis I can't get anywhere else. It's the best way to support the channel, period. So if you're new, welcome. Again, that's sort of my shout out. I know the regulars that were here when I started were like, Paul, you just did this, but we've have almost 10,000 people here now watching. So I appreciate you guys coming by, checking this out. Okay, let's talk about what's going on at the live map. Live map is out here. Oh, Goose Springsteen, welcome. In my opinion, Prigozhin has overplayed his hand. He seems to be hung out to dry by his allies. I hope Ukraine benefits from the chaos. Ukraine is almost certainly going to benefit from the chaos for sure. Noble gamer, tax dollars go burr. Yeah, it's a true, man. We forget this, but if you're in a democracy and your tax dollars contribute to supporting the Ukrainian military, then I think as a citizen you should at least try your best to understand the war in an unbiased, neutral way. Let's see what the live map has to say. All right, General Sorovkin calling for Wagner troops to recall troops and return to bases. Interesting. It's true. Sorovkin is thought of as being a pro-Wagner general. So hearing him ask them to recall and return to bases is maybe hedging bets, but it may also be true that if there's one thing we know about coup attempts, and it's that the more credible the coup gets, the more allies it attracts. And so what Wagner will have to do is prove that this is a credible attempt. And right now we have no videos, we have no reports of fighting, we have no reports of anything. But once you see that they might be a winner, the coup will gain support. Once they see that they're 50-50, the coup will gain even more support. And once Prigozhin looks like the winner, even more people will come to support him. So I think it's really important to understand that aspect of a coup is that it gains momentum. If you've ever studied the Spanish Civil War, you'll know that this is very much how it went. It was a small group of generals who were actually in charge of the Spanish Moroccan army in the 30s, not even the Spanish home army, but they agreed to a coup, and Franco was actually not one of the original people who started the coup. But because it was away from metropolitan Spain, they were able to gain a lot of momentum by the time they arrived in Spain to start their coup attempt. And once they did that and proved themselves credible against what remained of the Spanish army that had defected, then you started to see more and more generals switch over. And so that's, I think, a possibility. If Prigozhin is to be successful, that is what he will have to do. He will have to just find ways to... Also, thanks, Billy Sandridge, for becoming a member. Prigozhin will have to find ways to attract more people to his cause, and he'll do that by looking more and more like a credible successor. Okay. Oh, Celebreth is pointing out new audio from Prigozhin on War Translated. Okay, let's just see what else we've got here. Armored vehicles reported to be on the streets of Moscow. FSB opening criminal case. And it looks like roads have been closed in central Moscow. So definitely. Can you guys still see me? Sorry. Am I back? Oh my gosh. You're killing me, guys. You're killing me. OBS. Ugh, I can't even deal with this. Oh. All right, let's try again. How long has this been going on? Oh, wait, am I back? I think I'm back. All right, great. Sorry about that. OBS decided to be OBS. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. Sorry. Stream is back. All right, let's take a look at some war translated. Supposedly there's new audio from Prigozhin. What is wrong with my video? Why is it mad at me? I gotta see if I can close out of some other stuff. I may actually have to close out a Discord. That may help me. And let's see if I can close out of anything else. It's eating my bandwidth. There's not really anything else. All right. So, okay, let's see. New statement from Prigozhin all right. Also, thanks, Phoenix. Okay, new audio from Prigozhin stating Wagner crossed state borders in all areas and is now entering Rostov, promising to destroy anything standing in their way. I guess this is the statement. They were dealt a missile strike. After that, helicopters did their work, then artillery. The orders came from the head of the general staff to destroy the PMC Wagner, according to Prigozhin. After meeting with the Ministry of Defense Shoigu, where they made this decision to destroy the rebellious units who are ready to defend the motherland, but not defend, he implies, the generals. I'm trying to not get demonetized. He says, as of now, we've crossed the state borders in all areas. Border guards came toward us and hugged our fighters. We're now entering Rostov. Units of the Ministry of Defense, in fact, the conscripts who were thrown to block our path, moved away. We don't fight with children. I'm not going to get demonetized. Shoigu is the one who is unaliving children by throwing untrained soldiers, conscript included, into the war. He set up 18-year-old lads against us. They're like our children and grandchildren to us. Therefore, these lads will live and return to their mothers. We only fight with professionals, but if someone stands in our path, we'll destroy everything in our way. We lend a hand to anyone. Bear in mind, this is the hammer guy. Okay, so just bear in mind, this is a hard pivot from someone who is famous for implementing a draconian system of battlefield discipline. Regarding claims of the arrest, this brotherhood, this justice, this honor and conscience, what we have, when you make these claims, you haven't got these feelings. These feelings are destroyed, thus you cannot understand anything but betrayal. And a link is direct to the Concord group, which is his press office. So, damn, this seems credible. Apparently, everyone is live streaming, according to OHMS. All right. Interesting. I believe it. I believe everyone's live streaming because this is absolutely surreal. Let's see. Leandro Moida asks, would the U.S. indirectly support Prigozhin's attempt to take power in Russia? A change of power could come in handy now. I think so. The U.S. is nothing if not willing to. They certainly support a coup if they believe it's going to trend favorably in their direction or align with U.S. interests. But what does that mean exactly? It's not super clear. It's not totally clear that this will align with U.S. interests, right? Prigozhin talks about getting back to the front lines and doing more fighting. So it's not at all clear to me that Prigozhin, Russia, he may, because he has acknowledged the failures of the Russian Ministry of Defense in a way that seems fairly honest, but he hasn't talked about abandoning the Ukraine war conflict per se. So, interesting stuff, right? We're still waiting for, of course, is some sort of evidence, something of Wagner itself actually engaging in operations, doing anything. Okay, we have an update from the live map. Just that Putin's been briefed on the armed rebellion attempt, and a report that Wagner's troops are entering Rostov-on-Don, probably in a line with the statement. Thanks, Derek Patrick. But let's see if we can find where this is. Okay, here's Rostov-on-Don. So yeah, here's the road closures. This is a tough spot, actually, for like, because you could see they've cut off some of these roadways, but it's going to be hard. I mean, they're going to try, certainly, the Russian government, but even if all he can do is seize Rostov-on-Don, you can see that this is still a pretty valuable piece of territory, and it's almost better to try to occupy these regional capitals because they can be very hard to dislodge. And at the end of the day, getting to Moscow, like Russia's giant distance is kind of its own defense. Historically, we know this to be true. 12 hours, that's a, in 12 hours you can marshal a lot of forces to contest Wagner Group efforts. But even if all you do is sit there and go, hey, I control the southern part of Russia, I control these regional capitals, that's still a huge blow, especially if you've got an ongoing war effort. Thanks, Jim Baker. Who are drawn to support the Prigozhin coup initially? People who already are publicly aligned with Wagner are going to have to support it, because if it fails, being associated with Wagner, it doesn't matter if you didn't support the coup, you'll be seen as a liability, right? So anyone who's made the statements should know, Sotovikin should know, that he'll be marked if this fails forever. The other people are those that stand to benefit from it, right? So people who aren't that aligned with the Ministry of Defense, who might stand to get a promotion, an increase in authority. I think that's what you're likely to see. Paul Walker points out that even Prigozhin understands ending the war would provide him potential legitimacy. And I think that's true. I think it would be the off-ramp that the West has been hoping for. Deke Patrick asks, can Ukraine benefit from this? Yes, absolutely they can. The less coherent one, literally diverting Russian forces from the battlefield to Russia is good. Like simple math. You also have the benefit of a broken chain of command is going to struggle to organize the war effort in like a meta sense. In addition to the fact that up to this point, if you supported Prigozhin or Wagner or the Russian Ministry of Defense or were Chechen, all of those things were aligned in in that your loyalty to that translated as support for the Ukraine conflict. Now, not the case. Falvi Pollard asks, Putin using Prigozhin to purge other rivals in the Kremlin. That would be interesting, and that may be what's happening. And thanks, Tom Calthrop, for the support. Okay. Let's see what else we got. All right. Let's see what TASS has for us. Or actually, let's check the Russia-Ukraine war subreddit, see what's new, see if we've got anything going on here. Do I want top or do I want new? I feel like new is going to be unverified trash, but let's find out. Okay. Right? Vows to stop. Even the Moscow Times is repeating his claims. They're amplifying his message. I'm fascinated by this. Wow. Okay, here's another photo from Moscow. Yeah, this looks very much like a lot, by Russian standards, a lot of military moving in to the Kremlin. So someone points out, let's see, supposedly, someone was like, oh, someone in chat was like, the internet is out in okay, let's see if we can, internet is out in Russia. I'm curious. All right, let's take a look at Moscow. Again, someone pointed out that Russia uses Yandex. I guess I can try to see if we can get in Yandex, if it'll let me. Yandex Maps, I guess. Oh, okay. Yandex has a mapping software. All right. Let's take a look. So, I mean, I assume these road closures, but I'm more curious about Rostov. Sorry, is it Rostov-on-Don or Rostov? I think it's Rostov that got tagged. So I want to know just like traffic conditions kind of broadly. Directions from Rostov-on-Don to, I guess if we ask Moscow, right? So that seems to be the primary point of concern. Interesting. All right, so it's now an hour. It takes an hour and a half longer, supposedly, to get there. What's not super clear is where are tolls, what are delays. Interesting. Yeah, you can see here we've got, I think these indicate delays. It looks like, oh, wow. Huh. This is probably just like Google Maps of the photos, uh, or their version of like a Street Viewer. Again, I mean, this seems to say that you can still get in, but these maps are not that updated. But what's fascinating, the biggest change is that it's now almost 10% longer to actually get there, which itself I think is fairly interesting. So again, hard to get some of these insights. Mostly, let's see if we can see what else is going on. Yeah, I think that's the largest. Here's another pic from a Russian Ministry of Defense building that's been locked down in Moscow. Again, but it's not clear that this is like capable of conducting a military defense. Does this make sense? This looks more like a security apparatus, which is probably all they need right now. If we're honest, right? Like it doesn't sound like there's Wagner forces imminently near Moscow. They're 12 hours away. This is probably the best available, you know? But what I find most interesting is that the Russian police forces are not that militarized. Which itself is something that, like in the United States, right? If you've ever been even to like a routine public event, a large sporting event, for example, you see more militarized security apparati operating at a Cleveland Browns game, right? You'll see numerous police vehicles. You'll see up armored police vehicles. You will sometimes see private security doing screening, and right, that is a low threat environment. So like the fact that this is all they can muster right now is actually sort of indicative to me about the Russian military may actually be pretty gutted. Andrew, thank you. If Prigozhin controls the south, he also controls the bridge of Crimea. It's a good point. Yeah. You know, when we look at Russia on a map, right, the map doesn't represent the economic output of Russia. Okay. And that's something that people forget all the time. Basically, what you have is like, in terms of economic activity, you have like a medium-sized European country, basically from St. Petersburg south and down. And then the rest of Russia has the economic activity of like Mongolia, like a very, very small country. So your ability to basically contest some of these regions, especially in the south, like Rostov-on-Don, is disproportionately valuable from a strategic perspective. That's why we talk about Crimea, right? Like a country that's huge, that's massive. There's no substitute, right? There's no substitute for Crimea. So similar to Moscow, right? Like having a separatist occupy even just Rostov-on-Don would be massively problematic for them. So again, not really super clear on what's going on with the So a lot of questions. Should Ukraine go on the offensive? My answer is not really. Not unless you have a credible reason, a credible belief that Russia is going to be pulling troops from the front lines. Not now, because it could be, this thing could blow over in a day, right? Or it could become a much more serious problem for Moscow. And if it blows over in a day, Ukraine doesn't lose that much, right? By waiting by waiting and seeing a day. But if it becomes a much bigger problem later on for the Russian Ministry of Defense, then the potential upside is huge. It's like the downside, the downside is of waiting a day is low. The upside of waiting is massive. So I think they're going to wait. The Wagner Group headquarters in St. Petersburg. I can't imagine that Wagner is going to be out there and not going to. They're not going to operate out of a major urban area. Also, they haven't been operating out of a major urban area. Does that make sense? Like they already know how to operate out of camps. So their headquarters in St. Petersburg, I think they're probably going to try to like gut it, basically. Remove everything of value, move all their personnel out to somewhere they're more able to secure. I think that's what you're likely to see. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's update no intel reports. Update War Translated. See if War Mapper's got anything new. See if the live update has anything new. And see what TASS. Oh, yeah. We can always count on TASS to have some. Interesting. All right, well, they moved this to the headline. Here, I'll open it up. You can see criminal case opening against Wagner head amid threat of escalating confrontation, according to the FSB. Prigozhin's statements call for civil armed conflict and stab in the back of Russian armed forces. And Putin has been briefed on the situation. So, pretty wild stuff. This is again increasingly credible. Very much increasingly that this is a credible event. The only question is how long will it last? So this is also interesting. 3 minutes ago, a Prigozhin audio statement recently released stated that Gerasimov gave an order for planes to bomb the moving Wagner columns. It's unclear if these columns exist in reality. Quote, just now, the head of the general staff gave the order to raise planes and open fire columns moving through civilian cars, through trucks. He doesn't care whom they KIA. They've been KIAing civilians for 1.5 years now instead of fighting with the enemy. Just want to say thank you to the pilots who, just as it became known, refused to obey the orders. This is an interesting technique. An interesting propaganda technique. And it's basically an appeal to like the masses, right? Whether it's true or not, it implies to the other potentially sympathetic people who receive this audio statement that it is normal and everyone is doing it. Everyone is disobeying orders. It's very normal. It's expected. So if you get an order to take on Wagner, it's normal to not listen to it. Everyone's doing it, right? And as War Translated points out, it's not clear that these columns are even moving. It's not clear that these planes are being ordered to bomb them. None of this is clear. But what it does do is create a norm, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to norm that this is normal behavior. You know, again, and I'm going to point out that if you're a Wagner group, if you're a Russian border guard, if you're a National Guard soldier, right? You're 3 people. When the Wagner column rolls in, dude, what are you going to do? Like, what do you really expect to do? You know? Especially given the amount of hype that the Russian propaganda machine has put up for the Ukrainian military. They've claimed the Ukrainian military is basically the entirety of NATO. And Wagner has acknowledged that they've at least gone toe-to-toe with the entirety of NATO, according to the Russian propaganda machine. So when they come to your border checkpoint on Rostov-on-Don, you're probably just gonna bounce. That's just common sense. Being alive is a good thing. That's what I'm gonna say. Paul Walker claiming this is one of several things that can happen in quick succession that may cripple Russian command. I think you're probably right. Thanks, Dale McKenzie. Thanks, Liberty Dude. If one complains they don't have enough arms and ammo, one can't overthrow their country without taking the armory first. And this is the question. Here's the thing. You don't need... You point out, you need enough ammo. That's an important amount. Enough ammo is potentially not very much ammunition. You just need more than the people who are going to try to stop you. And if right now, everyone who is available to stop Wagner Group is further away than Wagner Group. Okay? This is the core Russian problem at the moment, is that the people, the ammunition, the stuff, by and large, the stuff needed to stop Wagner Group, it can't go anywhere because it is actively engaged in combat with the Ukrainian armed forces. You can't pull it off the front lines. You can't withdraw. You can withdraw like a company, you know? You can withdraw maybe you can pull a battalion out if you're careful. You're not going to move a brigade's worth of stuff out of contact. It's not going to happen. It's not clear that Russia has reserve forces much of anywhere. They may have this second line, but as we pointed out, the second line is engaged in counterattacking, right? When Ukraine tries to break through, right? The lead elements delay and the rear elements engage in counterattacking. Given that, you don't need a ton of ammunition. You just need more than these guys have. And the advantage is that Wagner probably has been stockpiling ammunition for a while, at least since they pulled off from Bakhmut. And so the question is, can they get to their objectives before Russia can mobilize their better fighting forces here? That's the question, guys. Also, we're at 13,000 concurrents, guys. It's awesome. Thank you guys, as always, those of you who are joining me. I did want to point out again, combatvetnews.com. It's my site. It is the primary way that I monetize this content because it is not popular among advertisers. It's not popular. YouTube doesn't like it, but I still believe war analysis and covering this conflict is important. My site, Combat Vet News, has all these news stories for free that I can't get to. All my YouTube videos for free. But if you want to support what I do, keep me independent, keep me doing this, any one of these tiers will get you access to the members only section, which includes my analysis of the war footage that YouTube and Patreon won't let me show you. So definitely please become a member. It's a huge help. But I appreciate all you guys that are super chatting, that are liking the video, that are subscribing. Okay. Olnar Olafsson asks for a recap. Okay, great. Here's a simple recap. As of, I think about 3 hours ago, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, kind of spontaneously said that, alleged that the Russian Ministry of Defense launched an airstrike against his bases. And he basically was like, this was an unprecedented provocation. We are also fighters. We are also a military formation. And he announced, he said, this is the Russian Ministry of Defense is so corrupt and has cost so many lives that Prigozhin said, basically, I'm going to kick them out. And he said, everyone else should remain calm, stay out of our way. And the Russian Ministry of Defense gave a lot of credibility to this. The FSB then announced that he was being charged with mutiny. They put Moscow on high alert. They closed a bunch of roads leading around Moscow. And it seemed like this was not just like talk. And as of about 15, 20 minutes ago, or a half hour ago, maybe, Prigozhin announced in an audio message, again, without any accompanying video, that Wagner forces had crossed the border. I'll show you here on the map, had crossed the border of Ukraine into Russian territory and was approaching Rostov-on-Don. And Prigozhin claimed that the Russian border guards didn't stop him. They, in fact, encouraged him. He claimed that the Kremlin ordered combat aircraft to engage his columns of fighters, that the pilots refused, again, providing no evidence for any of this. And then, of course, that's more or less where we're at, right? The FSB and the Kremlin has acknowledged that Putin is basically a mutineer, conducting a mutiny, calling for armed insurrection. And Prigozhin himself has said, I'm calling for armed insurrection. I want to destroy the Russian Ministry of Defense. The interesting detail is that Prigozhin does not say he has a problem with Putin. He does not aspire to remove Putin. He's only trying to purge the Russian Ministry of Defense. But because Putin is so ill and probably incapacitated on some level, it seems as though it seems likely that he will functionally be if he succeeds, he will functionally be the leader of Russia. So you're more or less caught up. Carter Lumen, thank you. Sean, what do I think the effect will be when the front lines when the news reaches them? This is a great question. I think the news has probably already reached them, just given the way internet and social media works. I think for Russian troops, I think it'll probably be pretty divisive. I think a lot of them also don't like the Ministry of Defense. It seems like more troops fighting dislike the Russian MOD than like them. All soldiers kind of think their higher commands are dumb and idiots and don't care about them. They're probably mostly somewhat correct, to varying degrees. And I think the fact that Wagner fighters, I think some of them may resent the fact that Wagner fighters basically dipped and told the Ministry of Defense good luck. So I'm not sure. I'm really curious to see. I'll be very, very curious. Yeah, the frontline troops definitely know. Very curious to see. I really have no prediction on the frontline troops' reaction. I would feel bad. I would not want to be a frontline troop defending a country that's falling apart around me. I can tell you that much. So, there's a lot of rumors. But we're gonna try our best to sort them into something resembling knowledge. Let's see. Again, I'm hearing a lot of people in chat are saying that the Russian internet is out. Tough to say to what extent or what that could mean. But let's see. Let's see if we can see what's new in the Russian-Ukraine war. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Google Maps was reporting, according to this, that the Rostov-on-Don Moscow highway is closed, according to Google Maps. Okay, interesting. So this has gone from, that's a lot of closure. So a lot of reports coming in that it's closed. So it sounds like that was credible, right? I assume the Google Maps works off of repeated, numerous reports that this has been closed. Again, you guys have seen the same thing I've seen. Closing a road, not going to stop a military column. So very, very strange stuff. Let's see if there's anything new. I love it. I love it. Yes, I want to know this poll. What do you guys think is going to come on top? Wow, what 100% of people. Oh, okay. Okay, it's shifting. Let's see if we can get some updated news from the interesting. No real updates as of right now on Sorovkin or from Live Map. Interesting. So it sounds like it's about a 50-50 split between Putin and Prigozhin. Prigozhin's got his work cut out for him, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. 12 hours of driving is a long time. And it's a really hard... it's very hard to stage a coup when you give the government a lot of notice. So Carter Lumen is asking about a bunch of questions, but particularly there's no Russian quick reaction force on the front line. There is, as we talked about on the front lines. I think what you generally see is the two echeloned Russian defenses, which you have a lead force fighting a delaying action, and then a force in the rear that conducts counterattacks. The problem is, can these forces who are actively engaged in fighting, can they be peeled off and repositioned to fight Wagner Group? And can they get there faster than Wagner Group can? right? That's the other problem, is that if you have a bunch of demechanized forces, Wagner, they may not be able to get there. Because remember, you're going to have to do what? Load them into trains, get trucks, get them into trucks, get them to Rostov-on-Don. It's a tall order. It's hard to do. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, they have it, but a quick reaction force can only do so much. And you can get like the smaller the QRF, the less time it takes to spin them up. So like when we had a squad sized QRF for our FOB, their expectation was that you're ready to roll in 30 minutes. But if you wanted the brigade QRF, that was an air assault like platoon. They were expected to be airborne in an hour. And if you wanted the like division QRF company, you were talking about like 4 hours to get them into the fight. So again, think of things like in these terms. Think of things at scale, right? So yeah, you could get a platoon of Russian soldiers to fight all the Wagner troops, but it's going to be way harder to get a battalion is what you really would need to fight a delaying action. It's not clear that Russia has a combat battalion anywhere between Rostov and Moscow, honestly. I mean, even some of like you saw, it's not clear they have police cars that can guard the door to the Kremlin. They have Kamazes, 5 tons, unarmored trucks. Other than those BTRs, other than 2 individual BTRs, so again, a platoon protecting Rostov-on-Don, I'm not seeing enough fighting forces. Now, to be clear, Wagner has also, I have not seen any of Wagner's forces. So it's not clear. It's not clear at all to what extent, if any, Wagner is going to show up with a standard level of equipment, right? Yeah, as someone points out, Russia's the country that rolled T-34s out of a museum to fight on the front lines. These guys probably aren't going to be able to spin up high-level gear. I don't think they are, right? And it's not clear that what percentage of those fighters are going to actually be willing to shoot Russians. Like, that's the other thing. These guys aren't here to do that. Crusader Damien asks, who comes out on top? Neither long-term is his theory. Russia must make a deal with us to survive intact, us being the West. I think there may be some truth to that, but I think ultimately the West is probably sitting out this one unless it's clear their interests are at stake. As they say, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Do I think the AFU Secret Service is involved? I'd say actually maybe. I'd say it's maybe. And then there was, one other question about, John Luchek asked, do you think NATO would seize the Russian nukes if Wagner wins the civil war? No, I don't. There's literally too many. It would require thousands of nuclear weapons to be located precisely. It would require a massive amount of troops to secure them. You just have to have faith that Prigozhin doesn't want to become the leader of a cinder, and he is nothing if not a rational operator, right? Like, he's cruel, he's calculated, but you don't become as rich and successful and powerful as he is without being an extremely sociopath tier calculator. Do I think Russia is operating in an information vacuum? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I would be shocked if Russia, if the Kremlin knows much more than we do, honestly. So, okay, let's see. No intel, war translated, war mapper. Any updates from the live map? Still fascinated that TASS is just putting Prigozhin. Ooh, interesting. Another update from TASS. Okay. Solovikin calls on Wagner to resolve its problems peacefully and not to aid enemy, he means Ukraine. But this is interesting that they're putting him on the head here, because again, he's thought of as being kind of Wagner aligned. Deputy commander of Russian Joint Forces said that he arrived from the front line under order of the Ministry of Defense Board. Interesting. He said he called on Wagner to comply with Putin's order to resolve all issues peacefully. This is very interesting because remember, he was charged with mutiny like an hour ago. Okay? So suddenly they're asking him, wait, let's just talk about this. This is a huge pivot, guys. You have to think and remember, he points out, he's like, he's speaking on behalf of the Russian Ministry of Defense. So here's the Russian Ministry of Defense. It's basically, it can be interpreted as, hey, their bluff was called, right? The FSB was like, you're being charged with mutiny. And now they're like, wait, we can talk about it, you know? Very interesting. He says, Sordovikin says, I urge you to stop, quote. The enemy is waiting for our internal political situation to escalate. We must not play in the enemy's favor in this difficult time. Before it's too late, it's necessary to submit to will and order of the nationally elected president of the Russian Federation. Stop the convoys. Okay, so more credibility that there's convoys. Take them back to their permanent deployment and concentration locations and to only resolve all issues peacefully. A real pivot from being a mutineer and being ordered back. Now he's being urged, which is fascinating. A fascinating pivot. Right? And he added that he was arrived from the front line under the order of the Defense Ministry Board. We have together come a difficult way. We are fighting together, risking suffering casualties. We are winning together. We are of the same blood. We are fighters. I mean, this is a very interesting take, and probably to me, this, whether intentionally or not, radiates with some serious weakness from Russia. They are negotiating and pleading at this point for him to stop, which is again, hours ago, not even hours, minutes ago, guys. The whole live stream, we've only been doing this. We've only been doing this since 5:30, so we're at like 90 minutes ago. Tass was like, he's charged as a criminal. Wait, is he even there? Yeah, criminal case opened against Wagner head. Like, guys, yeah, criminal case, armed rebellion. Let's see when it was updated. Oh yeah. They've already sort of updated it. The seriousness of the situation, the threat of escalation of confrontation, has opened a case into the fact of a call for armed rebellion on the part of Evgeny Prigozhin. Interesting. Look, guys, you remember like hours ago. This was updated like an hour ago. But when we first looked at it, this was a different story. This was a way longer story. And it was way more confrontational in language. And now it's way more apologetic. This is fascinating to me. This is really just incredibly, just wild. If you're Prigozhin, you would look at this and you would feel empowered. You would feel like they are begging. That's my take. Carter Lumen, split between the FSB and Ministry of Defense, internal cracks. I think it's worse than that. I think there's a lot of Wagner loyalists in some of these elements. And I think the lower down you get, the more you have, the less you have calculated political figures who will tolerate and work for anyone, and the more you have emotional-driven loyalists. You know, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if your brigade commander, like, having a loyal brigade commander is good, but if all his privates are loyal to you or all his sergeants are loyal to you, then it doesn't matter what the brigade commander thinks. Does that make sense? Boot says, I've been getting daily updates about this war from multiple YouTubers, including you. You ever think about collaborating with some of them? Yeah, I was on Arthur Ray's podcast. The Perun at one point asked me to kind of like weigh in on a video, but he has such a fast work rate that like by the time I was like, yeah, let's talk, I can weigh in, the video was like already out. I mean, I guess we both are just incredibly busy. Haggerty asks, is it possible that this is what the Ukraine has been waiting for to start their counteroffensive? You've been saying for a while Ukraine's waited too long to start. Maybe it's like a gamble for something like this. You do not hinge. I would never, barring some sort of incredible insider intel, I would not hinge my counteroffensive on an event like this. If Wagner becomes a military, and Gary White asks, does Russia become more of a threat to the world? Okay, and Q&A. I don't know where my chat went. Sorry. Okay. No, I don't think so. Again, I think Prigozhin, like, he seems to be someone who wants power for the sake of power. So I'm not convinced that he's going to be a necessarily fundamentally different actor. Does that make sense? Oh, thanks, Ed. No one else was reporting it. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. Would I collab with Task and Purpose? Yeah, I love Task and Purpose, actually. All right, let's see. Let's see what else do we got. Right. Okay. This is the latest. Oh, interesting. Here's the roadblock on the Rostov-on-Don highway. Let's size up. Let's see. Let's see what we can. According to Reddit, this is the first roadblock on the Rostov-on-Don highway. So let's see. Let's see if we can size up what we have. Literally. Oh man, this literally just looks like they're blocking it with a bunch of like utility trucks. Right? Is that what we're looking at? I mean, that looks like a military or police vehicle. Yeah, and these look like maybe civilian traffic, but then there's this, they've turned this into a parking lot. So I'm not really sure unless these objects here are part of it, but I don't think so. I think this, it looks like it's some sort of like cargo yard or rail yard. Yeah, it looks like it's being blocked by literally 2 cops and some vans. If Wagner has like a tank of any size, these guys are going to be in trouble. I wonder, I'm just going to see in the comments if somebody's attributed it. Yeah, somebody points out that there's no one from Wagner actually passing by. So let's see. Yankee says, Prigozhin going out full kit, the front line of the most successful campaign ever, and is going to be known as his like I'm the people's champ moment. Yeah, I think that's actually a good assessment. Again, do I think Prigozhin was like actually out there like, I don't know, fighting it out? I mean, I think you're right. I think his campaign of like trying to position himself as the people's champ, as the serious warfighter and the advocate for like the fighting man and woman, well, fighting man in Russian military. I think that's a great play. I think it's, but I think it's a play, to be clear. Like, understand that it is a play. He wants to be the most powerful person. That is his ambition. His ambition is to be to be in charge of Russia. Spicy 4K action. Where do I think Putin is? Why is he silent? I think he's been scurried away to a bunker somewhere. I think he's very ill. I think he probably is not in a state to speak. I think it's probably pretty rare and requires a lot of prep time for him to be in a state to appear publicly. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, somebody points out, is this Prigozhin's crossing the Rubicon moment? I think Prigozhin believes he is having his crossing the Rubicon moment. I mean, I think he is. He definitely, like, it's like a common, I don't want to say a common problem. There's a playbook to a certain type of person, right? Once you acquire a tremendous amount of money, you still want things, right? Like, this is the ultimate problem, is that we know that people who win the Olympics, right, who win gold at the Olympics, right, before and after, a lot of times they win gold and they report that they don't feel different. They spent their whole life trying to achieve this thing. They achieved it. They wake up the next day and they're like, damn, I'm the same person. I feel the same way, basically. And they're stuck in this thing where they're like, the drive is still there. You see it with MMA fighters, right? Look at how many our champ continue to fight even long after their bodies are failing. It's because something up here just makes them want more and more. And there's a class of person in history that also seems to operate that way, but like to an extreme. Alexander the Great, Napoleon, a lot of bad dudes, right, throughout history have had this thing, this need, this like lust for more stuff. For more power, right? It's not enough to just have objects, to be able to buy anything in the world. It's not sufficient. And when you have that, right, and then you get power and you go, man, I'm Prigozhin. I'm the most powerful military force in Russia. I'm one of the largest political forces in Russia. I'm one of the 3 most powerful people in the Russian state. Even that's not enough, right? And so then he's like, well, what do I have to do now? And he's like, the answer is I have to become one of these historic figures. And like, it's not an accident. They know who Caesar is. And they know that Caesar is someone who amassed wealth, amassed power, but then became someone who had this massive impact through time. Napoleon had the same problem. He said, hey, it's not enough to be wealthy. It's not enough to be powerful. I have to be impactful. I have to become a statue type of figure, right? You want to have statues of you in a square somewhere. And once you're stuck with that, when you're stuck competing with those people, you only can compete with them on their playbook. And that's why they have these moments, right? Napoleon, there's so many. Napoleon leaving Elba, Caesar crossing the Rubicon, Alexander defeating the Persians, right? Like, so Prigozhin is definitely playing that book. And it's like, and it's also self-serving because the public also knows that playbook. They also know that. And he wants them to think, he intentionally is trying to evoke that, hey, I'm a modern Napoleon. I'm a modern Peter the Great. I'm a modern Caesar. I'm a modern Alexander, right? That's why that's why he literally films himself in the armor, right? Did Alexander the Great go out and bonk somebody on the head? No. Did Napoleon go out and shoot a musket at people? No. But being out there, being a man of the people, being a man of the troops was the thing. So anyway, the point is, I think Prigozhin is doing it both to speak to others, and speak to himself, right? He's speaking to something he needs, and he's speaking to the public. Okay, Carter Lumen, stealing from another user here. Does Prigozhin know something about Putin that we don't know? Very likely. I think highly likely. He probably knows things more definitively than we do, either sooner. Does Russia bomb civilians to stop Wagner? Yeah, that wouldn't bother Russia at all. They would do that in a heartbeat. The Kremlin doesn't care. Thanks, Paul Walker. I'm with you. I think it's going to damage Russian military command if it hasn't already. All major cities, roadblocks are up. Allegedly, okay, Nico Shores says allegedly there's reports of gunfire in Rostov, and that Gamer Misov ordered the bombing of Russian troops. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Over under that Putin has actually passed. I don't think that's true. They would acknowledge that. It would be too hard to cover that up. But let's just see. Let's just see if there's some. I'm just going to check the updates real quick. And also, while I'm checking this, we have a bunch more people who have shown up. Thank you guys for those of you who are here. If you want to support what I do, support my analysis, combatvetnews.com is the place. It's, you know, I don't have a ton of sponsors on here. They don't like war content. Advertisers don't like war content. Patreon doesn't like war content. I have my own site. All the news stories you can't get to. All the YouTube videos on here for free. But if you want to support what I do, become a member. Members get access to an exclusive room on the Discord and access to members-only content, which includes all my analysis of all the viral war videos. That gives us insight into the front line we can't get anywhere else, and it's the best way to support what I do. I really appreciate you guys, everybody that's out here doing it. And of course, I appreciate you guys being out here. Just support me in the chat. I appreciate all your super chats. Appreciate you tuning in. But let's talk a little bit more about what on earth is going on. Okay. Nothing new from No Intel. Anything new from our boys at Ground News? Nope. Let's see if TASS has continued its spin machine. A lot of people are asking, is the perfect time for Ukraine to go all in? No. If it's not going to get worse, it hasn't really, like, Ukraine hasn't been helped tremendously. Right? Like, it's not clear that Russia's diverting forces from the front line. It's not clear that their supply chains have been disrupted. It's not clear that the Wagner forces have actually impacted operations yet. So waiting could have a huge upside. But if this thing fizzles, then waiting doesn't have a downside, because basically it'll be the same forces that were on the lines last week are now here this week, if that makes sense. Okay, no real updates from Taz. MS is one bulldozer and suppressive fire enough for a roadblock? Dude, one tank. One tank can push through a roadblock if it's just civilian cars. It's really not that, it's not that much at all. Interesting. Let's see if we can find anything else. There's one quote from someone else that War Translate is reporting, but it's just propaganda. It's just kind of nonsense. Yeah, other than that, I don't see a ton. Let's see. I want to try to confirm this allegation by somebody in the chat was like, there's shots fired in Rostov, but I'm not seeing that. Yeah, I'm not seeing these reports. Yeah, I'm seeing stuff from an hour ago, 2 hours ago. Let's see. I wonder if there's a way to get, like, I wonder if there's a Russia subreddit. Russia, maybe? Let's see. Does Wagner have mechanized forces? Spicy. Yeah, I think so. Oh, it's quarantined. Interesting. Top. Okay. Robert Woodward, thank you. Let's see what's new. What's new in this quarantined community of Russia? Nothing. Okay. All right, Russia. Not a fan of the Russia subreddit. Interesting. Huh. Well, I'd say, guys, that your guess is probably as good as mine. I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. It's not clear there's big updates, but I'm going to come back either later tonight or tomorrow, depending on how things shake out. I appreciate you guys joining me. And again, stay tuned. Definitely subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to keep updating this as much as possible. You know for a fact that tomorrow morning, first thing, I'm going to be dropping a video. So it's yeah, this is wild, dude. This is just, I don't know what else to tell you. This is, whoever had this on their bingo card, they're paying off. Yeah, people are saying there's a video of the Wagner convoy. I just want to see, man. Okay, interesting. All right, let's just see. Let's just check. There's two things that are trending on Twitter. Let's just see if we can find something interesting from Moscow. What's the latest? No movements of Russia towards the Russian border, according to Russian and Ukrainian media. Saw something. Yeah, there's just so much. This is indistinguishable. Again, the best credibility is the really credible reports of the road closures. That's it. Somebody claims that they're seeing people partying in Moscow. Dude, listen, if you've ever known a teenager, they don't give a shit. Oh, here's another video of the precautions being taken in Moscow. Let's just see. Again, we're looking at Kamazes, dude. Like, these aren't armored vehicles. They're not going to protect against much. Oh, okay, but this is like a 4 or 5 vehicle military convoy. That's just not going to do it, man. Anyway, that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, as always. Oh yeah, get your bingo cards out for tomorrow. We are going to, there'll be definitely an update tomorrow, and if something crazy happens, I'll maybe pop into a live stream. But man, this is just wild. So thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate you, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Catch you tomorrow morning. All right, cheers.